Hello, everybody. I hope you all are having a good day. I oftentimes get a little bit sidetracked with politics and certain figureheads in the media because I feel like it takes precedence or something needs to be done or spoken about. But for today, this video, I want to really ask some questions to open up the mind, and I want to explain some of these things about the Bible and why certain phenomenon are happening and why certain people are losing their minds over it. Okay, first thing I want to touch on, this happened last year, it happens every year, it happens all the time. I guess apparently there was a rapture supposed to happen on the 21st. You know me, certain things I find out a little bit late about. I've been watching videos, people have been selling their homes, giving people money, selling their cars because they thought that the rapture was going to happen. They thought somebody in a red garment was going to come from the sky and start, I guess, from my perspective, what they said was, I guess, beheading everybody and they get raptured up into the heavens. I don't know exactly how it works. I've been in the revelation all my life and I couldn't believe some of the stories I heard once I got out here into society and I listened to other people's thoughts on certain events. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I keep warning people over and over in my videos that a lot of times we may have conspiracies about what's going on, but we really essentially don't truly know what these people are doing in the dark. Why these elites and why these people that control certain narratives are doing what they're doing. Why these pastors feel compelled to tell people the most outrageous shit and sit there and pray with them while they do it and watch them give all their stuff away and just be cool with it. Now, something else I wanted to speak on: the Bible, the Holy Quran, the Torah. This is facts. Whatever you feel about these facts that I'm telling you, be upset with the people who did the prior research. Carbon dating, and many other different ways to figure out where things came from. The oldest Torah is from 1000 AD. There was no written Torah before these other books. It was the last book, along with the Talmud, to emerge. What do I mean? Basically, there was a bunch of other books. The Quran, the Bible, and the Torah all contain the Old Testament. The Torah is the Old Testament, right? So then what they did was they took the Old Testament, took the books, and just wrote a whole book and called it the Torah. I have seen some of the things written in the Talmud, and I am not a bigot. I am not anti-Semitic from my perspective, but some of the stuff written in the Talmud is utterly disgusting. Utterly disgusting. Now, for more actual history, the Christian Bible, the one you guys read today, was predominantly written by William Tyndale, but before him, John Wycliffe had translated an English version. What happened was William Tyndale was brutally murdered by the Pope because of this. Not everybody had Bibles. It wasn't mainstream. They were preached at churches and kings had them and stuff. You weren't even allowed to have one for a while. So when he was murdered, a German man named Martin Luther, with the printing press, started mass producing Bibles in German. Then what happened was King James did it. Effeminate, remember I said to be conservative in any type of European country, you have to acknowledge the homosexuality that you all were built on. This is a hate speech, so I don't understand right-wing conservatism. Actuality, as much as you all don't like Arabs and Muslims and certain sects and cultures, y'all adopted Sharia from them. Europe was not anti-homosexual. So then there's the Bible, right? King James, the effeminate man. So then you go even further. Before the Bible, you had the Quran. Now, I did research on the current Pope at the time, what Muhammad was doing in his life, how he had to hide and his uncle had to hide him because they were coming after him because they were devout in their religion at the time. And then he was bringing forth a form of, they call it now Islam. So what happened was He spread that around. And then you have Islam emerge. This contains the Old Testament and New Testament, but then it contains, I don't want to say the New Testament, I'm sorry. It contains the Old Testament, their version of, so out of these three books, you're going to have a man emerge named Yahya, Islam, Yehohanan, Hebrew, and, or whatever. And then you'd have John the Baptist, English, the Christians, right? So why is this important? All these words from the Newer Testaments and these words are from him. Outside of Islam having Muhammad also. Muhammad was the one that created Islam with the help of the Pope in Catholicism. But a lot of people aren't willing to accept that. And so I will let that be. Then before that, the original books that you would have are called the Codex Sinaiticus and the Greek manuscripts. The Greek manuscripts were translated by the Greeks and the Jews who came together and did this. And then again with the Romans. The oldest book that y'all have outside of the Greek lexicon is the Codex Sinaiticus. That comes from the Pope. Now, the reason I brought all that up, that brief history, is to tell you all that whenever you all say it's the infallible word from the Lord God, first of all, you're mixing Germanic paganism, just like when Muslims say everybody's been Muslim since the beginning. You're mixing Germanic paganism, God, Guthan, Gudis, that's where the word Gothic comes from. And then you're saying something that came from Germanic paganism at the cusp, at the end of almost, at the current, leading up to human history, because even that English church I was talking about, why I said they were third, is because they didn't even emerge in history until the Romans started enslaving them around 400, 500, 600 BC. Then when they broke away from them, the Vikings started warring, you would have, and they were getting their freedom, is because Islam started coming forth and destroying the Byzantine after a while. Well, then later in history, then the Germans and the Vikings emerged, and then they mixed with the British and the Irish and became the UK, Europe. The French did this also. So why is that all important? I'm about to get into the revelation, but I'm telling you guys in this video predominantly, I'm not talking nothing magic. I'm not talking nothing lore, cosplay. This is actual history. Why does so much from history line up with the Bible, causing people to think it's an infallible word that's been here since the beginning? Okay, I'm about to show you something. I'm going to give you a metaphor, an example. I have a history book right here. And out of this history book, I can't understand nothing in the beginning of the book. It's in hieroglyphics in an old language called Giz. That's like saying, people be like, oh, people still know. That's like the difference between English now and Old English. Go look up Old English and try to read that shit. You're not going to understand what it says. People lost a lot of information over time. So then what they did with hieroglyphics in different languages, they then tried to translate it with different African steels. They called it the Memphis steel and a couple other steels that they call it. That's where they got the term Isirar. They have no idea, like a friend named Dan Saber said one time, the language is a jad. You add vowels and different things to it because it's only consonants. That's how it was at the time. Just like that YH, VH, and all the YH. And if you look at Jehovah and Yahweh, it's the same word backwards. YEHOVAH, YAHVEH. Yeah, Yahweh. It's backwards. That's all they did was switch it. It's the same letter, same God, same all that. It means gracious salvation. It was the beginning of God's name. But then a man, okay, I said Codex Sinaiticus, Islam, they have the Yahya and all that. That's how I know it stems from Catholicism, because they was the ones dealing with that shit at the time. And they was the ones that killed John the Baptist. Nero had a bunch of people crucified. They talking about Spartacus and his army. It all turns into lores. And Jews, whatever they call them, they didn't kill each other. They wasn't snitching on each other. The Romans came with Nero and a bunch of other crazy people and tried to take gold out of Jehovah's vaults. So the man that was killed, his name was Yehohanan. That's where they get Jonathan, John the Baptist, the one who baptized the Spirit, The man who I call Peter is Josephus. Cephas. He went to Rome like Joseph and perpetuated everything and held the word. Now, what ends up happening is Yehohanan, he had the beginning of the name, I am, and then Hanan, graciousness. But the name is already gracious, so it all tied together. It's like a meaning in a name. Me and him have the same name, which is why I go by Yehanan sometimes. My name is Jonathan. I'm sorry. My people that know me call me Jonathan sometimes, and that shit cracks me up. My name is Juan. His name translated was John, Yedho. But in Greek, it was Yanez or Yo. They got it in Greek. They say he was the greatest prophet of all. Now, he's the crucified man. His bones are in a museum in Israel. They don't want nobody. They are slaughtering people's minds. So anyways, the point is they found his ossuary and found him in a tomb with 12 other people, and they found his son in the tomb. They killed his son too. They don't. I gave my firstborn for the world. No, they killed his son. They killed all like 3,600 Jewish people at the same time. I don't know why I keep saying Jew. Aramaic, Afro-Arabic. Arabs are African and Hyksos, African and Asiatic. So that I'm going to talk about that later, but that's going to tie into the history. So that's like if I take a history book, don't understand nothing in the beginning of the book, then what I do understand, because that history wasn't fully destroyed, I then make total stories up about that shit. I'm going to give you an example before I go further. There's a man named Mean Narmer, and he has a rod and cane. He was a king. There wasn't pharaohs yet. The man who started pharaohs will surprise you. I'll get to that later. Mean Narmer and his rod and cane. If you rearrange means, you get Nim. It's backwards. Mean, Nim. Nim's rod. And then you have Canaan. I did research on Mean Narmer. He influenced everything about Canaan, and they started calling him Shua later in Canaan around 2000 BC because he was there around 3000 BC. He was one of the first kings that they have in recorded history. After him, you have Mentuhotep II, where they get that fiery falcon. And if you look later in history, they have all these fiery temples from Ahura Mazda and I forget his name. Oh my goodness. There's a prophet that brought Ahura Mazda. Zoroaster. Now, if you look at Zoroaster, you have Zerah and Perez, right? Zerah, and then you have the Book of Esther, or the Book of I think it's Esther. It's a word transliterated. If you look at, okay, I'm gonna go back to Abraham now. What they did with this history book. There was a group of people known as the Hyksos. At first, Africa, the Kemet and all that stuff through the Nile and the Sudan and all that, they did not have pharaohs. They were African. What happened was the Hyksos invaded Africa, but they were fucking powerful. This is why they're powerful. Africa was civilized. They had something called the 42 Laws of Mu'at, and Mentuhotep II civilized. Even his enemies, he didn't have killed. He had them all work together, and it became like a bureaucracy. It's in recorded history. Then, after he died, almost right after he died, the Hyksos invaded Canaan. And hear me out. There's somewhere written that they did that because of what happened to Means Narmer. And you want to know what happened to him? Or not what happened to him, but because his kingdom was usurped by the second king and the second kingdom. Well, then, Means Narmer was eaten by a sea beast, a hippo. Where they get this belly of the beast shit from? He's the anagram for Nimrod, Pharaoh's rod and cane. So he influenced Canaan and Babylon, but they said he was more of a warrior, while Mentuhotep II was more of a democratic man, if you will. So then later down the line, the third kingdom, when was Moses? Look it up. Let's say 1500 BC. But before Moses, right after Mentuhotep II, the Hyksos came and invaded Africa, Asiatic people who were warring shepherd kings. They didn't have no king. All their people were like wild and kings, and they just had stuff like that. Abraham comes before Moses and all the kingdom is set up and plagues the Pharaoh. But first, he gives reverence to Babylon and Canaan and gives them a tenth of everything. The Hyksos raided Kemet. They were successful. They mingled together. 400 years later, after 1900 BC, a man appears in 1500 BC, Ahmose, an actual pharaoh, the first pharaoh in history. Pharaoh was considered a god. I'll make you a god to them. But here's Pharaoh's anagram in the Bible and why it's interesting. Ahmose was actually of the African sect. If you do history, he defeated the Hyksos and kicked them back out. So then, when he defeated the Hyksos and united the kingdoms again, what ended up happening was he created something called the Pharaoh. And he used the 42 laws of Muad. If you read those laws and compare them to Christianity and any of these other religions, you'd be so fucking surprised. And why people always talk about the Nephilim and even the flood. Nimrod, Noah, spread his word throughout all of Canaan, Babylon, and all that, and it spread everywhere. And then they got the idea of kings and stuff. He was the father of almost all peoples in terms of knowledge. Before him was the god of Atum. Where'd they get Adam from? Okay, now continuing down the line. The 42 laws of Muad and Moses. 10 of those laws went over, and then what they did was they took the writing for whatever was supposed to be a god or whatever and put it in the word to put in our hearts. I am who I am. I am the one who binds or frees whom I will. You shall have no gods before whom I am. Moses' staff devoured Christianity for me. I'm not saying what it did for you guys. It devoured Christianity and the wilderness law, that beastly law, the 613 mitzvahs, plus the ark of what Moses used, the ark of the covenant. What is an ark? It hovers above waters. What are we at the beginning of the book? We're hovering above the waters, reading it until the serpent gets in. Where did the Lord God come from? Are you a Germanic pagan? We lose our souls, our spirits, and then fear creeps in and laws and craziness. But Moses, once I got that law back in there, whoopsies, whoosh, devoured they shit. But here's how the Pharaoh was created. Who did any of this shit? The Pope. In his time, the Codex Sinaiticus. But the Greeks did it before him, but they got devoured. It's all a part of the beast now. Watch. You had the Pharaoh. After Ahmose came and united all this stuff and did the right thing, Ramses, Tutmos, all these different weird names and recreations of Pharaoh, or Moses, who I call Aaron. They took his garment, and here's the idea of Moses killing a Pharaoh. Me being tormented, a Hebrew man, Christianity, did I do the ultimate sin? I'm blaspheming, go to hell? Moses and broke its fucking neck, metaphorically speaking. The Pharaoh was destroyed once I got the word and spirit back in my heart. And I became a strong man again. Then Moses went back to the other side and chilled with the 7 flocks and the 3 women, or the 3 women and the 7 flocks. It's the 10 commandments. The 7 colors of the rainbow in the sky and the Ark of the Covenant. It's the 10 commandments. The land with the 7 stars. And the lamb itself. The lamb is the covenant, the Ark of the Covenant, and the 7 stars are the other 7 commandments. Minus all the death, the murder, the blah, 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 blah. Thou shalt not kill, but stone and kill, your parents could kill you. What type of fucking sense does that make? None, right? They're slaughtering our minds. The wilderness itself. What did Aaron do once he took Moses? What did all these pharaohs do? I'm the king, I'm the God, do my slavery, do my will. What are all these people doing? Following. I'll give you an example in this day and age. What do a lot of people do for billionaires? You need to work harder. You need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. They slaughter the minds with fear and oppression until people inadvertently, instinctually follow oppression. So then over time, all these pharaohs and all these religions are being created into a beast. You had the dragon that initiated it, the pharaohs after Moses, and then they created a dragon. And the 7 nations, right? The Israel and all that. You have the Canaan, the Gigashites, the Hervashites, the Biscuitshites, the Gravyshites. It's all racism and elitism, making you hate those nations. But the actual dragon is what they did with the 10 commandments. They turned it into a dragon. The 7 horns that strike and the 10 horns of power, the 10 commandments. What was the whole New Testament about? They supposedly from the Romans. The Romans, we wash our hands, we're innocent. We didn't kill Yehohanan. I do research, and the Romans killed 3,600 people for them not giving Yahweh's gold out their vault. And then when the Jews start to revolt, Vespasian came in and saved their souls once he learned about Yehohanan. I hate to fucking say. Let all the people go up into Europe and Africa. And then his son came later and destroyed the temple once he found out how they died. And once he found out what was going on, because then it was assimilated. See, they don't teach y'all a lot. If I'm a Roman and I come and destroy y'all stuff, now what is that temple full of? Romans. But why did this happen? The same man I called Peter. Josephus went up into Rome, Cephas, and taught them everything. He became a Judas. So then you have later Paul, the Christians. You have the Catholics and the Christians. Then Paul is basically a representation. What did Martin Luther do? Came and was rebuking the poor, telling people how to live, don't be homosexual, blah, 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 blah. Like Paul. Who was the two murder men that did this? Yehohanan, who got Jewed off by Josephus, and William Tyndale, who got Jewed off by Martin Luther King Jr. By Martin Luther, the German Protestant. The Catholics and the Protestants. The two horns on the physical beast. Well, but I'm being a literalist again. What is the big beast that comes out of the ground? Right? It's the 10 Commandments. Or the 616 laws. That's why they talk about the mark of the beast 666. No, it was 616. It's representation of the 613 mitzvahs being used, plus the Ark of the Covenant, the first 3 commandments. And what is it? They have the 7 horns of power, striking you if you don't listen to the 10 commandments according to the law. And then if you transgress, and what's the first 3 commandments? The Ark. It creates 1 horn, and then it's the mouthpiece for everything. Who cares what the law says? The Lord God and the 10 commandments says, right? So then what is the beast that comes out of the ground? The physical representation of the big beast, to me in my heart, would be Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. The 4 nations that attacked, the 4 beasts that merged together and created the Lord God and Christianity, and created this new sect of Judaism and whatever the hell's going on with these mitzvahs and stuff. Because if you read that book, it's not peaceful. They tell people to hate their brother, kill this and that. The parents can stone the kids. Don't eat this and that, or don't be gay or die. It's a beastly, murderous law. And then you have, and you have Islam, the caliphate. I would never side with Hitler, but I see what they were doing in terms of capitalism and people being poor in Europe. I'm not fucking blind. 2 things can be true at the same time. Hitler was a fucking nuts. And people were using capitalism and elitism to drown others. If you harm Jewish people or don't like Jews, you're a fucking nut. Because I've met plenty of them. And even if I haven't met them, I don't need to meet them. It's not your job to create hate speech. So, back to the lesson at hand. So then, the city will split 3 ways. What's the 3 biggest fucking religions in the world that influence everything? So then you go even further. What's the beast that comes out of the ground? My physical representation of that is Christianity and Catholicism. I'm sorry. It's the 2 horns of Christianity and Islam, and the beast itself is Catholicism, where all their books come from, the Codex Sinaiticus. There was no fucking books before the Pope. They were all destroyed by Rome. And Alexandria before Rome destroyed fucking Egypt. And before that, the Hyksos destroyed Kemet. Until Kemet rose again. And then they used the words of a wise man and created beasts and dragons, metaphorically speaking. What's the psychological, spiritual representation of the beast? The 2 horns, good and evil. What happened through Christianity in the Crusades? You follow what's right or we're going to fucking burn you or martyr you. To this day, did you know there's an Islamic king, ultimate supreme king and princess? And did you know if they break Sharia, even they can be assassinated and executed? This shit is dangerous. So then you go further. Good and evil, the 2 horns, the things we was told not to bother in the first place, because in a world based on feelings and punishments and rewards, now if we call things evil before they happen, we're mapping out scenarios we have no idea to, and the space-time continuum is an RNG, a random number generator. All things can be true, and yet all things can be false, because we don't know. So then, a perfect lie is something you create before it happens without logic or understanding, just a seed of hatred. Go even further. Who is Joshua? Who is Akhenaten? Joshua came in 1300 and raided Canaan. Now go look up who Akhenaten is. And yet these people, is there a Moses? Is there a Joshua? What does Joshua mean? Joshua is supposed to be the name in English that they gave John. But it actually isn't. It's John's name turning into I am salvation. Jah, J-O, Shua. I am gracious salvation. The man's name in English is John. In other dialects, it's Yudahovani and Ivan. And in my name is Juan. The actual closest, because like wa or ya to the translation. Yanez, Wani. So, John the Baptist is the one that was crucified. He's the one, and they know what he was. And I wouldn't be surprised if they switched his bone or put some type of new. He was African Asiatic. All these races, you have three fucking predominant: Africa, Asia, Europe. What y'all call black, yellow, whites. Europe came down after Greece and the Syrians. African Asiatic people went through the Bering Strait and went down below because they could sail this. And they created the same pyramids in Africa and these other places. Never lost connection to their roots until Europe and Islam. Islamic people, Afro-Arabic people, the Hyksos and the Kemites, what created Arabs, were not Caucasian. They were Afro-Asiatic. And then after the Byzantine and the France supreme rulers and Germans and the UK all came down and took care of a third of humanity and mixed with all the civilizations, many people became more light. Y'all are talking about the great replacement while y'all kill everybody, replace everybody, and reproduce and breed Caucasian roots. Y'all should know that a lot of these Native Americans, these reservations, were the people that were conquered afterwards, blended and mixed with white men, and then created a reservation of lighter skinned people. The darker ones were taken as slaves after Philip's War. So, alrighty, going down the line. That same man that I talked about, Ahura Mazda, who was Elijah in his fire temples, LSJ, who is JB and Wani. The same thing as taking Jehovah and Yahweh. But in actuality, if you take JB, B used to be high V in German. J used to be Y. My name is Yahweh. And I didn't even realize it until I started doing research. Outside of Yahweh, my nickname that was a gaming nickname. Do you know what Juan is? The literal representation, Yanez. My name is Jehovah and Yahweh. And I didn't plan a single shit of that shit. My hair is soft, like wool. People, oh, are you African American? Are you da-da-da? Let me tell you something about the Jews. They say on your mother's side. My great-grandfather Maximilian Braun came here from Poland, Russia, because of Hitler. My grandmother is half Caucasian, half African American, half Polish, half African American. My mother is a fourth, I believe, Polish and the rest African American. And then you got me. I'm 11% Russian. Jewish. From my mother's side. And they call me Ham, every single fucking one of them. The few rabbis that did respond wasn't so nice about it, though, and called me Ham. One of them made a video after I posted the 10 Commandments and said we have to be aware of these people suffering from mental illness. But then talked about how sacrificing a fucking cow will bring a holy Messiah from the heavens, right? Because now they believe in Yehoshua. It's like Jonathan Kahn and Tovia, singer, y'all. And it's all going to keep mixing. And that beast is going to be destroyed. Because the head that was destroyed, love your brother, thou shalt not kill, when Yehohanan came, is a representation of what they typed in that book. Because that's not historically accurate. Then the head was healed once the Crusades came out the ground. That good and evil. The seven angels in the Revelation are the seven proper commandments. They go into your heart, they change you, they burn the flesh. I don't mean actually burn people. It's like, so people love Jesus Christ and condemnation and say it's the conviction, but hate white guilt. Y'all are hypocrites. Y'all are fucking hypocrites. I wouldn't give a fuck if you didn't talk so much about burning in hell and telling the truth. But that's all y'all do. Y'all are hypocrites. They don't talk about why African Americans are in these small, gentrified communities, why there's guns everywhere and liquor everywhere and drugs. They don't talk about why they saved the Nazis. I looked up Margaret Sanger, the lady who created Planned Parenthood, and I asked about it. They said, no, she wasn't a Nazi. She was just into eugenics and racism. She spoke at Klan rallies. She wanted to create an elite race and destroy the discarded ones. They protect the fuck out of their civilization and their people. Look how they treated Gaddafi after they killed him. Gaddafi wanted to give us reparations. I could imagine why he's dead. And clowned him like a dog. I watched a documentary on how Hitler rose to power and what he did to get power. It was undisputed running his fucking mouth unchecked. And his art was shitty according to everybody else. He wasn't mad at Jews for any... He had a little Jewish girlfriend who they had to ship to America, and his doctor was Jewish. Loved him. It was because his parents was middle class, and then once he got up there, he wasn't middle class, had to do all these shitty jobs and was a piece of shit. So then he tried to be... Oh, and the even funnier part, he wasn't dealing with slavery and Jim Crow and oppression and all that shit. He just couldn't figure it out. Even his own people was fighting him at many different points until the Nazis started growing. There was extreme leftists and liberals. I wouldn't call it extreme because I hate the extreme liberals. We really want you to love each other. But then the next breath they'll say, we all need to love each other. That's extreme. But then they was getting usurped by Nazis. Then they was kicked out the country. Germans was accepting, loving people. Outside of their kings, crusades, and all that religious psycho shit. They assimilated all the time. Europeans who wasn't a part of this shit was pure. Just like all other humans. So, the Bible's infallible, all these stories. Zara and Perez. Isn't there two forms of Arabs? Don't you all have the Sunni and the Muslims? The Sunni Muslims and the other sect, I believe. They're taking stories that happen in real life and they're creating fantasies out of them. And if you're like, the ark really happened, the ark, you're supposed to be the ark hovering above the flood. But you have no idea what that means probably. And if you do, cool. Follow along. I am not your God. I am who I am. I am the living God. You are who you are. You are the living God. I am the angel of fire to you. You can be the angel of fire to me, or healing, or loving. When I say don't lay hands on people, I go and I speak and I say, look how easy people will say, I'm having a shitty day. They won't heal. This won't happen. They're going to die. They have no hope. And call it happiness and glad and logic and science. Knowing our brains are like literal programs and program everything we say and speak. But then say to yourself, oh, they're going to make it. They're going to live. Everything's going to be fine. In my own name, not saying the Lord got none of that shit. I am who I am. They will be fine. They will heal. They will be okay. They will spiritually prosper. They will prosper. And then even speak it to them sometimes. But y'all say that's evil. Y'all are caught in death. And the more I learn about the word and spirit and actually explore and say certain things of purity and because I always say things that you know my heart. And if I say something wrong or I don't truly want, please help me to understand and listen to me when I'm calm. Please help me love who I am in all my heart and soul. Please help me have peace. Please help me have tranquility. Please awaken me. And even when it burns and hurts, help me understand why it's right. Even when I think I know better. I remember my mind's been twisted, so please help me within. Please be merciful. People be like, why isn't he being destroyed? He said, fuck the spirit of God. He said this and that also shit. And then y'all say karma, karma, they get what they want. What have I said on all these camera videos? I am mercy. I am forgiving. People could cuss me. I'm doing all kind of crazy shit. Charlie Kirk could have repented, changed his ways, and a month later, I would have been his best fucking friend. Why am I like this? Because any hatred that's created, no matter what they do, They cannot create anything that happens inside of you unless it's physical fucking pain. I have to create it. I have to walk. He could call me nigger 8 fucking times. And with every Nigger, I have to get madder. I have to get to the point where I want to hurt him. And that's what John the Baptist was talking about. You don't just wake up and say, oh, I hate you. It's subtle. They robbed me. They continually fucking piss me off. And I'm sick of it. Day after day after day. And as it festers and grows, one day your automatic nervous system is going to take that programming in. And now your feelings are going to have control, not your consciousness. And it's, I don't mean to, it happened in an instant. A crime of passion. What's a fucking hate crime? Tell me, do you murder somebody in love? You know what? I just told somebody this in my comments. These people in a democratic country, lefty fucking libtard, communist, which receives all type of welfare. You see what these farmers are doing? You saw what the banks did? And the banks own everything. The banks begged for welfare. Car dealerships, NASA. How much funding y'all get? I don't have a problem with NASA, but y'all do a lot of irrelevant shit. Y'all do a lot of good shit, but in between, this is what I'm saying. If NASA Institute was to lose all its funding and something detriment happened, I guarantee you they would squeeze tight, right? Why do it take losing funding for that to happen? Why do y'all play so much? Go and eat your baconators and have fun and skip down the street, but then when you hear about oppression, that's so sad, them homeless people. All right, thanks for that $15 billion check so we could go explore the moon. Y'all don't give a fuck until it's you. I see every single one of y'all happy to fuck somebody's life up, and then once the law was passed to hurt you, love who I am and others, then you want to come out and speak. People, elites will allow, governments will allow what y'all allow. Because y'all, the number of y'all in comparison to any elite on this fucking planet, I hear it on games sometimes, the whale doesn't matter because they'll get burned by an alliance. I do not advocate for hate burnings or murder or execution, none of that shit. I'm not an extremist, nor am I a psychopath. But one thing I will tell y'all, y'all should learn the English language. Y'all should learn where the word God comes from, and hell, y'all should learn where a lot of these religions came from. And the same people that Mesopotamia invented the wheel, but they have pyramids from 15,000 BC. They have observatories from 10,000 BC. You need an Egyptian or Kemet pulley to deal with these rocks and pull them up and down. What is a pulley? Can y'all tell me? Can y'all help me? Mesopotamia had language before hieroglyphics and gears. The Mesopotamians came from Africa. What the fuck are y'all talking about? Y'all are liars. Mesopotamia is young. Humans are 1 million to 2 million years old. They were of my descent, my color, dark, African, to block the sun. So I'm a natural entity on this planet, and the original is we don't get sun, and sun hurts us, but we're in the sun 24/7. I'm sorry. 12/7. Do you understand what I'm telling y'all? The default is this. I'm sorry that it hurts. Evolution led to that. Darwinism can help you explain what's going to happen if you continue down that path as this red giant gets bigger and bigger. I don't understand Christian hate for homosexuals. I don't. Because Christians are European, for the most part. Christians are everybody, but Christians mostly are European. I don't understand some of y'all shit. Yet y'all hate the Muslims that y'all get Sharia from, anti-gay from. It shows you how they want to adapt and take things, but then demonize the people they get it from. Africans taught people everything. It came out of the farming, building, structure, civilization. Why do y'all talk about farming, water irrigation? Sailing. I don't know what to tell y'all. So, The Bible is not a history book. It's a bunch of fairy tales. And if you take every time you see God or Jesus, you say, I am who I am, spirit of mine, word of mine, and then reproof that no scripture is too good for reproof in the same book. Yeah, this didn't follow the word. That makes no sense. And then every point you see a murder, a curse, or this, and it goes against the Ten Commandments without you being murderous. Notice how much of that word goes against the covenants. In the beginning, who I am created the heart and the flesh. Oh, so, you religious nut? Let's see. Honor thy father and mother. My parents came together. The sperm fertilized the egg. Then meiosis, which is meiosis. Then mitosis occurs. After my parents' job is done, then for the rest of the time, who I am split and divide over and over and over until the heart and the flesh is created. I'm hovering in the waters. Do you want me to be a physicalist or a spiritualist? I am not the one to fucking play with. This isn't the ego. My special ability is you're probably going to come mock me and say a bunch of stupid shit against the most logical shit you probably ever heard a human say. And throughout your time frame, those words are going to smack you over the fucking head and mock you until you have no choice but to follow along. And then as I'm manhandling you through the spirit, reminding you, and eventually you become a tamed beast, I will then move out of the way and the Most High will do its job and devour Satan's staffs with fire this time. It will be destroyed with fire this time. Do you all not understand metaphors? I am the angel of fire. I have returned. But no, I'm not doing magic resurrections. I read the man's words. His spirit became indwelled with mine. Yehohanan baptized my spirit. And now I'm the angel of fire, literally speaking. Because my words burn the fat off the flesh so that the inhabitant can burn the ropes off and finally be the strong man again with peace and love in his heart. Go right down or read my scrolls in my video descriptions. I am who I am. You can simply read what I read in there. And tell me, this isn't magic. I'm as real as I can be. And I can explain with computer science. I don't like conspiracies, so I'm not going to explain two different things about Charlie Kirk's death. The bullet hit some hard tissue and blah, 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 and it inverted and didn't create a splatter. That motherfucking shit did one of two things. It's either fake, and he was shot from behind from a smaller bullet, or he has titanium or some form of metal in him that we weren't taught about. Why are both of those silly? Because one, that would mean he would have to be special, a humanoid. Titanium for some reason. An image. Which means others exist. Movies like iRobot and did all this entertainment. The horsemen laughed at the car. The tinderbox laughed at the lighter. We called these things conspiracy and tried to burn them, people at the stake. And then hundreds of years later, the military comes out with it. Or it's all a fucking conspiracy. But then, how does a man get hit in the most soft part of the body with a 30-06 and not explode? That dude wouldn't have had a neck no more. The reason why things explode this way into a bullet hole or a wound is because what's happening is perpetual G-force. The bullet penetrates the spinning, and as it spins, it's twisting and everything's coming with it. So you have those things that you squish in your hand, and those water things. And when you squish, the inside comes up when you push through it. Why? Why does the inside push out? Because of the force. You're pushing what was once there out, and it explodes. Right? I said all that to say this. Have any of you figured out who we are yet? What we are? Where we came from? We're just growing on a rock. Did the universe begin? Did it end? Blah, 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 blah. Did you know scientists or Christians are saying the same thing? In the beginning, he spoke. Boom. In the beginning, big bang, boom. What's the fucking difference? What's the difference? None of you were there. So why argue over something you never witnessed? You see, that's essentially how it works. The fighting, the arguing. If I'm distracted over here, I can't pay attention to the house burning down over here. But once I realize my house is burning down, I can take that ocean that I'm hovering above and throw water at it and put the fire out. Then I can use that fire for my fireplace righteously to keep myself alive. For my oven when I need to cook food, so to speak. Gideon is the angel of fire preparing a meal for who I am. It's an anagram. It's a metaphor. It's a puzzle. All of these men are fixing you a meal. Daniel only ate of the vegetables and the water. That's some smart shit, because you listen to these kings and you eat of their meat, you're going to be waiting for raptures to happen. It's a different kind of countenance, a different kind of joy when who I am. Another thing, riches. I have money. Here, take care of this. Take care of this. I don't have money and I'm poor. Now I'm thinking. Now I'm contemplating. Now I'm coming up with plans. I'm critically thinking. Do you understand simply how that simple metaphor explains how the person without money can be more structurally sound? But at the same time, that's not 100% true. The poor man has just as much trouble getting into the gate as the rich man. But more poor people exist. And so if there's only a certain amount of billionaires, that means there's going to be more poor people. Is it not going into whatever y'all call hell? Into misery? So, why did I bring that up about writing it down and reading it for yourself? I believe words are like spelling. They cast spells on us. We get information, take it in, and whether we agree with it or disagree with it, it is now in there, and we are battling or dealing with it. What do they say? The person that never knew or never knew love is better off than the person that loved and lost, or something like that. It's the fact that we have been programmed for so long by parents who have been programmed, by parents who have been programmed, by people who were slaughtered, oppressed, and told if they didn't follow, they'd be murdered, until it becomes real. But all knowledge is subjective until the user makes it objective and believes in it. Do you know why it's a fallacy to say God is real and you say you have total faith? I'm just saying the way you use the language, because belief and faith means you have no knowledge or proof and you are basing it on something you are hoping for. It should be called hope. But if you were to say, and now you're going to say it's an infallible word and it's definitely true, then you can't have faith. That doesn't make sense. It's only confidence. You guys are caught in webs of stupidity, and I'm trying to break as many chains as I can with the fire. So read that book, and at every point you see some sort of form of sacrifice. Now you're the God, the I am. And now you talk about your kid. You gonna follow through that crucifixion still? You talk about your nation you birthed and your brothers and sisters of your family. You still gonna let the Benjaminites go murder 10,000 Judahites and all these other people? For some reason, when it's more personal, when it's humanized, people make different fucking decisions. Like these people who say, I don't need doctors. I don't need blah, 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 blah. Then they get sick and they fly their rich ass to a fucking doctor. The people that don't believe in... Let me explain CGI. Go play a Nintendo 64 or Super Nintendo. That's the 80s. Now go watch the moon landing and tell me if we had the CGI to do that shit. If only a real camera could not capture that kind of... Then they say they did it in the desert at night. How do you account for the gravity? You will never, ever, ever, in this generation, especially in the 60s, have technology that could show people floating in that nature and that realistic nature, and it'd be CGI or fake or chords. The military might have had technology like that at the time, but then the Russians would have had it, and all the militaries would have had it. And everybody would have been jumping on the fucking moon if it was as simple as CGI. Wake up! Yes, I would rather feed people on Earth before we go terrafucking-forming Mars, when the great giant is going to engulf Mars too. But at the same time, I'm not stupid. I know if we don't figure out intergalactic travel and planetary travel and find other places like this place, overpopulation is going to fuck us. The sun's going to fuck us. So, If you would like to hear more what I have to say, I have a lot of videos. I gotta piss, and I love you all, but I got things to do today. So enjoy and stop being a bigot. And if you're conservative, I don't know how you hate the Jews or homosexuals. Yeah, it doesn't even make sense. Judaism was created in Europe. Enjoy.